Yes, hello. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. I want to welcome everyone to this seventh session of the ICT Labs initiative. Sorry for the delay. I had a network issue regarding my internet connection, but I've had it resolved, and I think we can proceed. I hope everyone can hear me quite clearly. Hope everyone can hear me. Mr. Omanga, can you hear me? Hello? I just want to confirm that everyone can actually hear me, but I can't get a response. Let me see. All right. Thank you. All right, let's proceed. Let's try to proceed. So today we shall be continuing with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Like I mentioned last time, we shall just be continuing from where we stopped. And we shall be again try to add some more elements to the website that I was trying to build. And additionally, at least today we shall be able to add some JavaScript to our web page as well, and see how that also plays into the whole web development process. So so on the agenda today, we have a session 7 recap. We always have a recap, though today it will be a bit brief because last time I think I didn't get many questions, so I am assuming that many members were able to get the concepts that I was able to share last week. So I'll be able to share with you some more HTML elements, a few of them, that we shall be styling using CSS and JavaScript. Additionally, obviously, I will show you a simple demo of all the concepts that I'll be sharing today. And then we shall have a brief question and answer session where I will get a chance to hear from the members as well, those that want to contribute to the session, as well as share with us what they are doing at the schools, because we think that is very important. So in our session six, we covered a couple of ideas, we covered a couple of concepts, and among those, we saw how to add videos to our website, where I used the video tag and showed you how you can actually create a video gallery. You can reach a point where you can create a video gallery on your web page. Additionally, I showed you how you can actually turn that video tag into a nested tag with the source tag nested within it. So I hope the members are able to recall whatever we covered in session 6. And please, in case there's anyone who missed that session, you can always go and look out for it on YouTube. So we obviously also looked at audio. Yes, how do you add audio to your website? So by now, I hope that our members are at least well versed with this idea of adding audio to the website. Additionally, we also looked at how to add links to our website. And under that concept, I introduced what we call the anchor tag. And that is the A tag. We abbreviate it as the A tag. And I took some time, I think, to explain that in detail, how we can actually even turn some of our text, maybe in a paragraph or in any other part of the body, how we can even turn the images to link us to a certain website, maybe YouTube, maybe google.com and so on. Though I used YouTube in my illustration. So for those who might have missed that out, please check out session 6 as well. So I think by now, members are also well versed with this idea of inline CSS. We started on inline CSS, I think, in session 4. Now it is now we're in session 7, and I think the idea of inline CSS is now very clear and shouldn't be something new, at least for those who started with us and are still with us. So additionally, I was able to show you how we can add internal CSS to our website using the style tag that over time, when you have a lot of inline CSS in your code, at some point it becomes so bloated, it becomes a bit disorganized. So this idea of internal CSS was brought to try to reduce that, to try to solve that problem, to try to make sure that all the CSS is put in one tag inside your HTML. Yes. So I think that is what we looked at last week. So additionally, we always have some questions as well. I think Mr. Chole last week advised me to always have at least even if one slide of the questions that members were able to ask, and also try to address them. I try to give some feedback on them. And I received this question. I've forgotten the name of the person that asked me this question, but he was saying that he has some experience with WordPress, and he was wondering why there's any need, why would he need to code his website from scratch. So I thought it was such an interesting question, and I think some of our members might also have maybe thought about it, and were wondering why are we even going into this whole process of coding from scratch, maybe inserting images where you have to struggle with the less than and greater than sign and so on. Yes, I did understand where he was coming from, and that's why I think we need to take some time at least to go through some of the reasons why we decided to actually start with this, not run straight to the content management systems, WordPress, and many others that are outside there. So yes, we appreciate the fact that we have these content management systems are available. They make life very easy. I think I was able to share with the members one of them. I shared, I think I shared Dreamweaver. Dreamweaver is obviously an IDE, but it also has those characteristics of a content management system where you don't necessarily need to code something. The IDE or WordPress in this context can help you actually automate some of these things. So it can create for you that code in the background. Maybe you want to design an interface, you're a UX designer, and maybe you're not very good at coding anyway, but you're trying to build a website. So WordPress serves its purpose, and I understand that it makes things really easy as well. It has a lot of plugins, it has a lot of themes. I've used it myself, yes. But to understand why you need to build this foundation of programming from zero, and to develop this skill set anyway, there are certain reasons why we need to take this very seriously anyway. So one of them is the fact that when you learn how to code, when you learn how to build your own things from scratch, you have this advantage of customization and flexibility. Yes, even on WordPress, we have customization options, and it's also a bit flexible. You can change the theme and so on. But in terms of reaching a level of extreme customization, or a level where you can also add your own code, even in WordPress, in case you wanted to change the color of a certain section in a theme. Some themes actually offer you that option of customization, where given in a situation where you want maybe to change the color of something, but the theme does not give you that color, for example. So for someone who has some basic HTML coding practice, or some CSS coding practice, they can actually go to that theme and actually change that color, even if it has not been provided by the initial developers of the theme. That person has an advantage that they can actually go to that section, to that customization area, and then add some CSS of their own, hence enabling them to change some of those things. Maybe they want to add a border to an image, and yet in the theme, that option is not there. The image has no border. So if you don't have the practice, if you've not tried to code from scratch, at least at a basic level, you find that even WordPress itself, to some extent, becomes really hard. Yeah, you have to rely now on what they've already developed. You have to rely on what other people, maybe plugins. You have to install a lot of plugins in most cases. So that is one of the points that, in this case, if you learn how to build, for example, a slider, an image slider, you may not need to purchase an image slider from WordPress, for example. So at some point. So secondly, in my points, we have this concept called performance optimization. where you will find that sometimes on WordPress, you might find that sometimes your website lags or something like that. And you may find that you're limited to some extent, that you have nothing to do because this is the theme. It's not your theme. You're not the one who actually developed it. You have to work with it the way you found it. But here, since you're the one who actually came up with a website from zero, similar to my cash store that I've been building with the members, you realize that you have a very big advantage that on your side, you can actually you can make some changes to your code to improve the optimization as well. You can add and remove different elements, which might not be the case in case you're using a default theme in WordPress. So additionally, we have the security features as well. So when you're developing your own code and you're writing your own programs, you find that you also have this option of adding your own security features from scratch. So you could come up with a way of protecting your code, a way of maybe saving your content or your images and so on in a much more secure way, which might not be the case in WordPress, because you may, as you understand, these WordPress themes are normally used by many people. So you find that someone might use the theme and find out maybe, just to use a hypothetical example, someone might find out the weaknesses of the theme, maybe in case you're developing an e-commerce store, they can know how the theme works in the back end because they maybe interacted with it. They've looked at how the database is structured and so on. So there are many security risks as well, but obviously our WordPress is also secure. It is very secure, I understand. But here, obviously you get a slight advantage over someone who even doesn't know, who has no idea of how things work in the back end, how to program a computer. So when you go through the coding process, maybe you learn some JavaScript and so on. It builds that foundation where you can also reach a point where you can actually as well develop some security systems for different applications and so on. So obviously scalability also comes in, plays a part. That here, since you have your code, you can keep your code for years and you can share it with anybody that you want. And as well, you can always build on that code. That even if you were using, for example, my code, the code that I've been sharing, or you've been coding along with me, you can come back 3 years later and you still have that code and you can build onto that code. Maybe after 1 year, you also want to get into, you've learned your HTML, you've learned your CSS, you've learned your JavaScript, and now you want to go on and learn some PHP. You can come back after some time, and then you can build on that PHP. Then later on, you can as well go into different things. You can go into Python and so on. But when you're working on a single project, so it gives you this option of scalability, which might not be the case for WordPress. Yes, WordPress also gives you that option to some extent, but you don't have full control over most of these things that you'll use on the WordPress platform. Because as I mentioned, the purpose of WordPress to even begin with is to allow automation of many of these things. But I think it can also be a viable option. It depends on what project the members are working on, or what project are you working on personally. You may not have to go through this hassle of building the things from scratch. Yes, because as you go on, actually, I believe that even some of these content management systems were actually built for people who are a bit experienced, that you know what is going on. So it makes things really, really easy. But to skip that part of even learning the basics, I think is a very big mistake, and becomes with time it becomes a very big impediment to your progress, to overall progress in this world of technology and in general software development as a skill set. It becomes really hard for you to build that skill set if you don't have any basic experience, at least in writing computer programs. That's why we are taking all our time to show you how you can actually insert images on your own, on your computer, without even installing WordPress. It's not because we don't know that WordPress exists. And I remember, I think in session 3, I informed the members that we shall actually have those sessions as well. We shall also look into WordPress, because some members were also reaching out and asking when will we have some practical sessions on WordPress. But I felt like we shouldn't have those sessions before people understand what is happening in the back end. Yeah, because we are building this progressively. We are trying to share this knowledge progressively, such that by the time we reach WordPress, people actually can actually can actually modify the themes that they've downloaded. For example, they can add some other features. They can play around with the colors of the theme, which may not be the case when you find that when you don't have any basic skill in terms of programming. So obviously, learning and skill development, which I've just explained, that it is a progressive journey. Yes, you begin from zero, and as you're moving on your journey, you find that people try to automate most of what we are doing, which is good, but it gives you an added advantage when you know how things work in the back end, and not relying just on the interface, on the front end interface. That's why I also encourage some of the members to actually use Dreamweaver as well, because Dreamweaver shows you how the website will look like. You can actually edit the title, for example, from the interface, from the website interface, without necessarily coding. That is good, but it's good for a start. So with time, in case maybe a member wants to transition into robotics, things like that, you'll find that in those fields, we don't have content management. We don't have things like things that automate some of these things, like maybe an option of dragging something. You find that in those fields where you really have to write actual code, things become really hard. And we don't want that to be the case for at least our members in the ICT club. So obviously, we also have the option of unique design and user experience, that you can manipulate these things. You can do them on your own, on your computer. I already talked about this concept of graphics design, as well as web design and so on. So this gives you an option for you to play around with the elements, the HTML elements. For example, in our HTML classes and CSS classes, you can play around with the elements as well, and see how you can actually, with time, you can also come up with your own plugins, because those plugins are also created by human beings like you, and some of them actually make some good money from them by selling them on WordPress. So why shouldn't you have that option as well? So that you don't just become a beneficiary of what other people are creating. You want to give that option in such a manner that you also become a creator. You also contribute to the WordPress community, for example. Yeah, these themes are created by people. Why don't you also reach a point where you understand the back end of programming, so that you can contribute to these communities? Because if those people did not contribute as well, you wouldn't have that option of, for example, downloading plugins and themes and so on. So we really want to encourage that. Even WordPress as a platform was developed by a programmer. So if you have some experience in programming, it gives you a high level of leverage. So obviously, the other point is reduced bloat, which I also talked about, that sometimes you might want to develop a site. You might want to develop a site and you want specific features. You don't want some other additional features. But you find that maybe the theme you're using, the default theme that you're using, or the one that you've bought, brings in some other functionalities that you may not need. So when you're building the website yourself, you have control over all the elements. You have control over all the elements, and you can decide which one goes out, which one stays there, just by maybe using backspace to delete the elements, which may not be the same on some of these WordPress themes. So additionally, we have this element of long-term maintenance, which comes in when you're coding yourself, when you're building your own programs. I think I already even hinted about it, I already talked about it, that you can keep your code, you can keep scaling your program, and you can as well build some other applications based on the code that you had, which may not be the case when you're using WordPress theme, because then you will have to download that theme multiple times. In case you wanted even to start another project, you have to rely on that very theme. But in this case, you simply copy some elements. Maybe you're developing another program and you want to add a gallery. You can simply pick out your code, your gallery code, and put it in another web page. So I hope that at least answers my friend there who was asking this particular question. So please, I want to encourage the members as well to type in the chat in case you have a question, so that by the end of the session, I get a chance to address some of them. And also in our next session, sorry, I'll be able to answer the questions, because I really want to make sure that the members feel appreciated, and also they feel like we actually caring about what they are doing in the schools, We just don't want to bring our own content and every week just be sharing it with you without knowing what challenges you're going through and how we can best help, how we can actually best address those challenges. So I want to encourage all the members, in case maybe you haven't understood something that I'm sharing on my screen, please just type it in the chat. I'll be able to address those questions. Additionally, even if time runs out, I'll be able to address them in the next session, just like I've done today. And once again, I want to appreciate Mr. Chole once again, because I hadn't thought about this idea of having questions in the slides as well. But as you can see, at least from today, the members who had this particular question in mind have gotten an idea or two about how to go about it, how to think about it. So, but all in all, I want to encourage the members, in case you're working on a project and maybe you're limited by time. We looked at that stage of requirements and limitation in our design and planning process for our projects and programs. So in case you're limited by time and maybe you're limited by knowledge also, which might be the case for some of our members, you can always opt for WordPress. I think WordPress has done a great job of automating most of these processes. You don't have to always rely on our code. For us here in ICT Club, because we're in a learning environment, we really don't want to make that the foundation of our journey. We want to actually start from zero, show members how things work, so that they can also become creators at the end of the day, and not just users. Yes, it's good to use these tools, but it's also good to know how to build the same tools. So for today's session, we shall be looking at buttons in HTML. Last week, I did not get the chance to share the code for the buttons. So today I'll show you briefly how we can add a button, the button element to our code. Additionally, I will introduce what we call lists. Lists are very basic, and I really wanted our members to also get an idea or two about how lists look like, how do they work in HTML, what do you mean by lists anyway? Yeah, so I really want to address this in this particular session. Then thirdly, I will also bring in this concept of external CSS. Last week we were able to see how we actually use internal and inline CSS. But today I want us to add external CSS, and I'll also explain that practically. So obviously I'll also bring in inline JavaScript. I didn't get the chance to do that in the last session, but like I mentioned, I always start from where I stopped because this is a progressive journey. I really don't want us to rush very fast and end up reaching a point where our members don't even understand what we are doing, because we are simply marking time and not taking the time to explain most of these concepts in depth. Yes. So I'll go into the demonstration. I'll go into the demonstration bit. So I'm just going to open my VS Code. I hope the members can actually see my screen here. I hope members can see my screen. I'll try to zoom in a bit. All right, I think that's much better. So for the ICT Club members that have picked up this habit of coding along with me, please, you're welcome. I hope you have your own code there, because like I mentioned, my role here is just to show you how things work, and then you, the web designers, obviously at this point, I think we can qualify to be called web designers for those who have at least developed something, so that you can also implement it in your code in a different manner. Yes. Oh, so let me try to make the screen a bit more visible. All right. All right, let me try to. I don't know, can the members see my screen? Seems my screen is not clear. All right, let me just try to stop sharing here, then I'll share once again. All right. So I think now it's much better. I think before it was showing half the screen, but now I hope the members can actually see my full screen. So this is our web page. This is our web page that I was working on, our Casto And I say that personally I'll be building the Castro, but I really don't want the members. I don't want the members to replicate what I'm creating here. I want them to get creative. I want them to maybe build another store, or maybe build an ICT Club website. So whenever I come here and add an element, for example, here I was adding a video last week to our code. So I want you to also have something similar, but with a different video, and maybe position it in a different manner on your website, not in the exact position that I've positioned mine. Yes, maybe you can have the same code for practice purposes, but later, please try to modify it into something that is really creative and something that is based on your own instincts and your own creativity, and not necessarily what I'm doing right here. So I'll try to run this program. I'll try to run it using Live Server. For those who have Live Server, please, if you don't have Live Server, you may need to first save and then double click on your executable file, your executable HTML file, and then you'll be able to see your web page. I think those are some of the basics that we've been covering in the previous sessions. So this is what I have. This is what I have. I remember the last code we had was actually changing the background of my page to pink. And we had the gallery as well, as you can see. We added a video here, and I was able to play it for the members as well. So we also had some audio. I hope members can actually remember that. And the audio was playing as well. And then I was able to show you how you can add a link that can take you to YouTube, for example. So I recently added some text that says search on YouTube. And as you can see, when I click on it, it actually works. So for today, I want us to add some new elements. I want us to add some new elements in the web page, so that also our members who are working on some of these projects can also get a chance to add some new features to their web page. So always, I always advise people to use the comments. As you can see, I've added the comments to my program. That comments help you remember what you were doing at a particular time. In case you come back, let me say 3 weeks, after 3 weeks, and you've forgotten where your audio syntax is, your code for audio is, you can always go to your comment, like on line 100 here in my program, and you can see that you can actually remember from the comment. You can easily make a reference and remember that, oh, this is actually the code that we shared in the session, and then you can actually try to replicate that in your project. So today I'll begin with the 2 elements I told you, the buttons and lists. Let me begin with the lists because they are really basic and they are self-explanatory. So I'll just copy this. I don't want to type again. Please copy and paste also works in case you want to copy something. It saves you the hassle of having to type it again. So I'll type that comment right here, right there. I'll press enter a couple of times, and I will say adding a list. So you can have a different comment on your end, but in this case, I will just say adding a list to my web page. So obviously, I'll put in some breaks. I'll put in some breaks because I want to break. I don't want these elements maybe to be so congested. So I'll use 3 line breaks just to create enough to create ample space between my link, search on YouTube, and my lists. So when it comes to lists, there are mainly 2 basic lists that I think the members should be able to understand today. So we have what we call unordered lists and ordered lists. And I think the difference, you notice the difference from the list that I'm going to create based on how they appear on your web page. Yeah, so this is a very practical thing. So I will first try to show you how we actually create what we call an unordered list. Unordered meaning that creating a list which has items that may not necessarily be in order. In other words, these are lists of items that don't have numbers. Let me try to do it here practically so that it makes some sense. So in case you wanted to create an unordered list, unordered, I hope people are getting what I'm saying. I will try to actually type it right here in English. I'm not coding, I'm just typing for you what I'm trying to say. Because normally in some of my other sessions, people actually try to confuse this. So what I'm saying is a list called unordered list. This is what I'm trying to say. for those who might not have gotten what I'm trying to say clearly. So additionally, we have what we call an ordered list. An ordered list. So I'm going to turn these two actually into comments so that we can create a difference between the two. We can see the difference between the two, sorry. So I'll try to add a closing comment here, this. So I'm going to create these two lists, and then straight away, it will make sense. It will make sense, you know, when I just talk, sometimes the members may not get what I'm trying to imply. But with this, it's going to become very, very obvious. You're going to see from my webpage what we mean by an ordered list and an unordered list. So this is the syntax of a comment. Please don't forget it in case you want to use the comments. Yes, so in case you wanted to create this unordered list, you always use what we call a UL tag. So please, in case you're working on a project and maybe sometimes you've forgotten what tag you're supposed to use. For example, in case you wanted to insert a paragraph and for some reason you've forgotten the tag that we use, please always take note of the letters in the name of the tag. For example, paragraph. So in case you want to add a paragraph, you can always think of the first letter in that word. So in that case, it will be a P tag. In case you wanted to underline, you can always think of the first letter in the word underline. So you can always add a U tag. So you can always get an idea of what tag you can actually use, though it's not written in stone that you're supposed to actually add the first letter. But I know that at least for most of our elements that we use, we always actually consider the letters within that, maybe the word or the name of the tag. For example, if you consider an image tag, we always use IMG. So it can give you a hint for you to remember, especially for those who have at least practiced. So you just simply listen to the word and then try to look out for ideas on what the tag could be. So in this case, we have what we call an unordered list. And as you can see here, we have our U and L. So please, in case you wanted to add the list, you always use a UL tag. So the UL simply stands for unordered. So it will be a UL like this, just like, I hope people can see my screen. Let me try to even zoom in a bit further because I really don't want anyone to miss this concept. In case you want to add a list of items, maybe a list of, you're creating a video game site and you want to create a list of items, you can always take advantage of these lists and embed them on your web page. And then further, I think when we move on ahead, you'll see how we can actually beautify these lists to actually make them even look extraordinary to some extent. And when we add some JavaScript to them, you will actually see that they actually look very amazing. I think most of our members might be well versed with the idea of, for example, a navigation menu. When you go to any website, you always see home, about us, maybe service. So the way they build that menu is using one of these lists, the unordered list, where you actually start with this and actually style it in CSS and add some JavaScript to make sure that you create a very nice navigation menu at the top of your web page. I'm sure we shall get to that point, but today, let me just show you how we actually add the items. So to add an item to your list, I think by default, you can see here on line from line 119 to line 121, that in case we wanted to add something to our list, our unordered list, we always have to take note of what we call a list item. So a list item, I think, is a bit self-explanatory, that it is the item that is going to be part of your list, as simple as that. So in this case, if I wanted to create, for example, a list of members in my class, I'm a senior 1 class at maybe, let me see one of my participants here today. So at Arua SS, I'm a senior 1 at Arua SS, and I want to create a list of the members in my ICT club at school. So I can begin with a simple UL tag like that, and then I can start listing the members. I can say list item 1 here. I would say maybe Sarah is part of our team, part of our ICT club. Then secondly, because I don't really want to type again, I can just copy this. I want to take advantage of this. I Ctrl+C. I'm using Ctrl+C on my end, but you can also right click and click on copy. For those who don't know the shortcut keys, and then you can paste. So remember, I said copying is Ctrl+C, please, our members. Copying is Ctrl+C. pasting is Control V and cutting is Control X, in case you want to get used to these shortcut keys, because they really help. Sometimes you might find that maybe your mouse delays you a bit, or it's freezing, or the cursor is not moving, and you might want to take advantage of these shortcut keys. So please take note of those. So I'm going to create a list item of about 5 members in my ICT club at Aroa SS. So I have Sarah, I'll have maybe Martin, my friend of mine, Martin, I'll have Jack as well. So I'll have Jack, maybe James as well. So I'm just creating a simple list. I want to add it to my web page. I could actually give it a title as well. We looked at how to add titles and headings to our web page. So I will say Mark. I think Mark will be my last member. So I want to see how this actually looks like in the web page. Let me try to see here. So I think right here, the members, let me try to zoom in again. I hope the participants can actually see my list here. So this is what I've tried to create. Let me try to zoom in again. So this is what I've created in my web page, a list of items. Sorry about that. So this is a list of items, a list of our ICT club members. So if I wanted to make this even look better, I can add a heading at the top here. You already know how to add headings. I can add an H2 element right here. And I say ICT club members. Maybe in this case, Aroa SS ICT club members. Yes, why not? In case you're developing your ICT club website at school, you can always add something like this to your web page, a list of members. Then, of course, later on, you can beautify it with you can see this, you can beautify it with, you can further beautify it with CSS, and also with time, you'll see that we can add some JavaScript and we can make this text even dynamic. We can make it even fancier. So we can make it a little bit fancy. So I'll go on. So that is it for unsorted, unordered list, sorry. So we shall go on and quickly look at the ordered list. We shall look at the ordered list. So to create the ordered list, we have to take note of the syntax of the unordered list, because it is the same. And like I told you, in case you know that whatever element you're going to create has the same code, there's no need for you to type again, unless you really want to just practice the coding, which we encourage. But in case you know that it's going to be the same, all I will do here to show you how simple it is, I'll simply copy this very code, the very code that you begin with the UL tag, with the list items, and I will paste it right here below my comment, the ordered list comment. Let me try to make it so smaller. So what changes in case you have an ordered list? It is the same syntax, obviously. You begin with the first tag, but obviously I think at this point our members can even tell what is going to happen, because like I told you, where we got this tag from is from actually this name, unordered list. And I told you, please, you always take note of the one or the item. And in this case, since we are dealing with an ordered list, we shall simply consider O and L. Yes, for those who want to keep this in mind. So we'll simply change this U to O. And you're going to see what actually happens. You're going to see the difference between an ordered list and an ordered ordered list anyway. Yeah. So this is the OL tag. It is used to create the ordered list. So let me show you practically how it looks like. So I think from my screen, people can actually tell the difference between these two lists, even from just looking at it. You see that when we have an ordered list, we actually have bullets on our text, on our list items. Yet when we have the ordered list, it actually gives us numbers by default, as you can see here. I hope members can actually see my screen clearly. So in case you're not seeing my screen, please, you can put in the chat there so that I can know. So this is our ordered list and this is our unordered list. So it's now up to you, our members, to see how you can become creative with this. I think with time, I will show you how you can actually use CSS to remove, in case some members may want to remove the numbers, you may want to remove the numbers, you may want to remove these bullets as well, or maybe to edit them for them to look there might be different icons on your site or on your site, sorry, and you want to modify them, to beautify them. So I'll show you later on in CSS as we progress in our sessions, and then you'll be able to actually remove those bullets. And when I think for those who at least have some experience in CSS, you can use the text decoration property to actually remove this, where you say text decoration none. You choose the property text decoration and then you say none. The value has to be none. For those who have some experience in CSS, but I think for those who have been following us, at least they know how to add some inline CSS and how to add some internal CSS. So that is it for the list, members. That is it for the lists. At least today I know members will go home. For those who didn't know, at least will go home happy knowing that at least they know how to add the unordered list as well as the ordered list to their web page. So I'll move on to the button. I really wanted us to try out the button. At least I think our members have been able to see buttons on these web pages. So how do we even add these buttons to our web pages? So I'll go back to my VS Code. I'm going to add a button right here after our members. I'm going to try write a simple button there. And then additionally, I will try to add in some JavaScript, some inline JavaScript to show you how we can actually make our elements dynamic on the web page. Yes, because I've been leaving out the JavaScript and today I really don't want to leave it out. So I'm going to create, in case you wanted to add a button, let me first start with a comment. This is a very good practice in case you really want to keep track of your code so that you don't forget things. You always use this comment. We always start every element with a comment. Because at some point you might want to share this maybe with another person who did not attend the lesson and they don't know what the code below that comment means. So you always have to add the comments so that they can also be able to read your code well. So we are adding a button. We are going to add a simple button to our web page, adding a button. Okay. So this is how we add a button. So like I told you, members, in case you forget a tag, you can always get the name of the tag from even the word itself. Sometimes we have full words, sometimes we pick out some letters in case we want to write to embed these HTML elements in our web page. So it's not so different in this case, in this context of adding a button. We shall actually use what we call a button tag. So in case you wanted to add a button, you will simply write the button. That's how you will actually create your tag. So the button tag is not a self-closing tag. It is a normal tag. It has an opening tag as well as a closing tag. Yes, VS Code auto-completes most of these tags in case you type the first words. But for those who don't have the VS Code, please, you have to type, remember, you have to type the opening tag as well as the closing tag. So let me see what we have on our web page right here. So I hope members can see what I have here in the corner. Let me try to add some space. Let me try to add some space here so that members can see what I have. So right here, I've just created some space so that I can be able to zoom out. So right here, I think you can see, for those who might be having wider screens, you can see that I have something similar to a button that even when I hover over it, you can see that it changes some color by default. It changes to this dark color as well, a dark border. So this is how it looks like before you add any other properties, before you add any other. Let me try to make it, to even make it a bit bigger so that the members can actually see it, because I don't want them to miss this. So this is it. And for those who can see my cursor, this is what I mean by the button. This is what you have anyway. This is what you will get by default in case you add a button tag. But of course, this is not what we want our end users to see really. This is just the start, and this has just told our browser that, hey, in this particular section, add something that looks like a button. That's all you're telling the computer. And please keep in mind that programming is not about just putting text into your computer. It's actually a language. You have to talk to the computer. You have to make sure that whatever you're coding, you can actually understand in terms of, in the human context, you can actually interpret and understand, and not just putting characters on the screen. So here we are simply saying, please add something that looks like a button on the web page. So for us to make this button a little bit look better, as well as make it functional, we need to add some other elements. We need to add some other elements. Maybe we need to add some other properties like I'm going to show you. So in case I wanted to add a word in between, inside the button, for example, I could try it out here. I want it to be practical. So I will say, let me say, in case I wanted to say, let me say, click me, for example. I'll just say click me. Click me. So this is the word that is going to be in our button. So click me right there. Please remember that I have Live Server installed on my computer. So in case you don't have Live Server, you'll have to save fast for you to see the changes. Because sometimes I find the members are always frustrated when things don't change. So this is what I'm saying. When I add the word click me, whatever word you will add on your side, I don't know what you're adding, but in case you add any word, this is how it's going to look like. Yes, here I've said click me, and that's the word that is there. But obviously at this point, our button is not functional. When I click on it, it simply shows us that effect of highlighting, and it becomes dim, and then it also becomes highlighted. That's all. By default, that's what HTML accords you, that you have that animation, sort of animation that they give you by default. So this is how your button will look like. But obviously, since we know some CSS, I don't know whether I was able to show the members how to add borders. You can always add a border property to this in case you wanted a border. You can actually change the color of the button as well using CSS. Let me just try to complete this button, and then I'll style it together with the members. I hope I can see we have about 30 minutes. Let me try to be a bit fast. So one of the properties we are going to add here, remember I said properties are synonymous with characteristics of something. And I remember in, I think, session 5 or session 4, actually, I gave an example of a human being, that a human being has characteristics. They have properties as well. So someone might have, I gave a simple example of a name property, for example. When someone has a name, that name has a value. For example, Jack. Jack is the value of, in the context of programming, becomes the value of the property name. In case that person has an age, that age has a certain value. Maybe they are 20 years old. So the property will have a value. The age property in that context of human being will have a value of 20. So in this case, our element has a property. And please remember, for those who are able to use VS Code, all properties are in this color, light blue, unless if you've installed a different plugin. In case you have a plugin that changes the colors of your text, you'll have a different color. But by default, we always have a light blue color. So the type, you have to tell the computer, what type of button are we trying to add here? We have to be very specific. Yes, we have some different buttons in HTML, but for this particular one, it's a very basic button, it's a simple button. And what we are going to tell our computer is that we simply want the type button. Yes, we simply want a basic button. We don't want anything else. As you can see, when VS Code is suggesting to me that, yes, amongst the types that we have in our library is the button type. So that's what we shall need for a start. And I think when you have this, you actually have completed adding the button element to your HTML. Yes, so this is what I have. So what if I wanted to actually use this button for it to do something, to execute something on my web page, maybe add something dynamic on my web page. So I'll use this button, for example, to change maybe text on my website. I'm just going to do it practically, and please follow me a bit, and you'll be able to get what I'm trying to say. I'm going to bring in some JavaScript just to get the members to at least get an idea of how JavaScript works and how you can write inline JavaScript. So I'm going to take advantage of this button here in my program. Of course, buttons can be used for many things. We can use them in forms. Most people are well versed with forms that, for example, if you're going to log in, maybe in Gmail, even joining Zoom, you'll find that you actually click on a certain button. So buttons, we normally use them for what we call event handling. In other words, they help us to kickstart events and also to also stop them. Yes, so in this case, I'll also use an element of event handling where I will be using this button, that when I click on this button, I want it to do something for me. Yes, I want to bring in that concept of how you can take advantage of these buttons and also bring in JavaScript as well in our HTML. So I'm going to use what we call the on-click property. So this on-click property, as you understand even from the word itself, on-click, when you click something, that is an event that is happening. The event of clicking in the context of programming. So in this case, our on-click property is going, obviously, whenever you have a property, it always has a value. Please take note of this fact. I had some members who were using Notepad and they were complaining that things were not working. That is because you were probably adding properties and then forgetting that each property has to have an equal sign as well as a double quotation. Yes, in VS Code, it is very clear, but I understand that some of our machines at the schools are not very fast, and but though they can operate at least Notepad, they do have Notepad installed on them that comes pre-installed with Microsoft Windows. So I hope that members can take note of this, that whenever you have a property on click, for example, or type, it always has a value. Please remember that example of a human being, that any property, even a car, I remember we used an example of a car, that a car has, for example, a property called color. So what color is that car? So that color must have a value, especially in the coding context. So what goes under our on-click element? So this is where things get a bit real, that when we are programming, syntax is very key. That even if you miss, for example, if I missed this quotation right here in my program, I think you can see by default, VS Code is helping me because VS Code is an IDE, like I told you. It helps in this entire programming. It makes programming easier anyway. Helps to highlight errors and so on. As you can see, even my file name up here, for those who can see my cursor, is already in red, saying something is not right in your program. There's an error. Maybe on line 147, there's an error. You can see even these lines that are under my text. Yes, that's because I haven't used the right syntax to actually do the programming. So I'll put back my, I'll try to correct the syntax. I'll put back my quotes. And then please take note of what I'm going to code here, because I'm adding some JavaScript. I'm adding JavaScript, what we call inline JavaScript, to my text. Next time, hopefully, I'll be able to show you internal and external JavaScript, because it's the same idea and the same context, same concept. So here, I will try to give you the syntax first, and then I will be able to explain it. So let me try to use the syntax. Let me first type the whole thing, then I'll explain what I'm doing. So I'll begin with the word document. So I'll begin with the word document, and then I will say dot get element by ID. I think VS Code is already giving me that already. Get element by ID. Please take note of my syntax for those who might be coding with me. Get element by ID. Then I'll open a bracket. So this syntax has to be very precise, members. It has to be precise. In case you see something is not working in your code, that is because you haven't actually followed whatever I have here. Yes, so this is what I'm going to be putting under my own click, element. But it's not complete because I realized I actually missed out something. Because I wanted to demonstrate this practically. I wanted us to change something practically. So I'm going to try to add here a paragraph, a simple paragraph, just to show you how we can actually change text on our website with just a click of a button, for example. So I will have a paragraph. Everyone, I think by now, for those who have been following us in our HTML classes, you know how to add a paragraph to your web page. So I'm going to add a paragraph, say here, that says maybe I love the ICT club. I love the ICT club. Yes, so I love the ICT club. I think even here on, sorry, something, obviously the web page is already showing my code because it's not understanding that it's actually HTML code, but I'll get that resolved when the program is complete anyway. So let me just see where's the paragraph. It's a bit messed up here. Anyway, let me just try to complete the code. I'm sure it will work at the end of the day. So we have a paragraph here that says, I love the ICT club. So I really want to show you how we can actually change the content of an entire paragraph using JavaScript. So the first thing I'll put here, please take note of what I'm doing. The first thing I'll put here is what we call an ID. I haven't gotten sufficient time to actually explain all these, but we have what we call IDs and classes. So an ID is like a unique identifier of an element. Just like human beings, we have IDs. Someone might be, for example, a Ugandan, which is a country, obviously, but in programming, we might consider that, we might call that a class. So think of it as a synonym for a class. So we have IDs and classes. I can give my my element either a class or an ID, but I think I'll go into details next time when I cover IDs and classes, because it's quite a broad concept. But I'll try to go through it maybe next time, where I will explain in detail what we mean by IDs and classes. But just know that IDs, for the purposes of this explanation, just know that an ID is a unique identifier of an element. Just like you say a human being has an ID, even here we can have elements. We can give them unique IDs. For purposes of styling them, in case you want to style a paragraph maybe differently, or you want to call on an element, you can actually give it an ID or a class. So if I'm to use an example of maybe the members at Arua SS, we have members at Arua SS, so that could be considered a class. Maybe the ICT club at Arua SS, we can consider that to be a class. Additionally, we have members of Arua SS who have unique names, maybe Sarah. So Sarah could have a unique ID with the value Sarah. Yes, in this case, I'll call my paragraph here. I hope that makes sense a bit, makes a bit of some sense. So I'll give my paragraph here an ID. Okay? Please, you can try out this concept of ID in your code as well. I promise, maybe in our next session, I'll try to go through this concept of ID and classes, because I think it would even take us one full session for me to explain this in depth for people to understand it. But for today, just know that an ID is a unique identifier. So I'll call my paragraph maybe ICT Club. I'm going to call it ICT Club. So that is my paragraph. I'm giving it an identity to enable my computer or my browser to run this JavaScript, to run this, to execute this JavaScript, so that when I click on that button, this text will actually change to something else. Instead of I love the ICT Club, maybe I can change it to something different. Yes. So under this on-click element, I'll have document.get element by ID. Then within these quotes, I will put this ID within those two quotes, because I want my computer to get this ID. That's why we include this this line, these keywords, document.get element by ID. We are telling the computer, go to this particular document or our file, just to put it simply without getting so technical, just go to our file and get me the element which has the ID ICT Club in this context. So I'll get this, just copy it. Please take note of the fact that if you type the ID name differently, it won't work. Yes, because here syntax is key and you have to really follow the syntax of the language. So I will use that. I'll put the ICT Club there. And then additionally, I will add this keyword here to complete the whole thing. This word called inner HTML. So it is part of the syntax of including the value of the on-click element. So this entire line of code here, please, this is not complex. I don't want people to be intimidated by the code, but all we are saying here, all we are telling our computer is please go to this particular document, our first program, and get us the element which has the ID ICT Club, which is within, for example, HTML. That's why we put the .inner HTML. So that, I hope that makes sense. I hope this line really makes sense. It shouldn't be hard. And I think at the end of the day, it's not about knowing what is happening entirely. Sometimes you may want to just rely on the syntax and have it do what you really want. But I hope I've tried to explain it briefly, and I hope it makes some sense. So we are telling our computer, please get that ID that we put right here on our paragraph, because we want to change the text under that particular paragraph. So when we say ID, when we say get element by ID, ICT Club is our ID, .html. So I'm going to actually, when the computer gets that element, I want it to change the value. I want it to change the text within that paragraph. Instead of it being I love the ICT Club, when I click the button, I want it to actually change to something else. So to do that, I'm going to add, within these quotations, I'm going to add two other quotes. So this is why I was saying, this is where things get serious. People normally forget most of these quotations. Yeah, you find someone typing something else and then the program does not work. So here I'm going to say, instead of I love the ICT club, I'm going to say maybe I love programming too as well. I love programming too. Yes. So when someone clicks on this particular button on our webpage, we hope that we expect to see a change in words. That instead of having our paragraph showing us I love the ICT club, it should be able to show us I love programming too. I hope this works. Let me just go back to the page right here. I'm wondering why I have that on the page. So I think this is because I'm running this in Edge. Let me try to run this particular program in using Chrome. Let me try to put it in Chrome. Just a minute right here. So I think, I think sometimes you might run the program in an old browser, which does not understand, for example, some old browsers actually cannot notice, for example, they cannot interpret comments, they cannot interpret some other things in HTML, especially HTML5. So I was using an older browser that was Chrome, it was Microsoft Edge. But for Chrome, you can see that I don't have that problem of, I saw some code that was embedded there. So in this case, let me try it out. I think the members can agree with me that our text is actually changing. I'll try to repeat again. Let me try to zoom in. Let me try to zoom in because I want to at least show the members that inline JavaScript is also an option that you can actually use before we get into the complex, the intricate details of JavaScript, that this is my default one. Like I showed you in my VS Code right down here. So this is my code. I had a paragraph here. I gave it an ID, ICT Club, and this is the text that was within my paragraph that I expect to see on the web page. And I added the button that I'm using for event handling. That when I click on the button, it should be able to show me some different text. So here I love the ICT Club, and when I click on my button right here, you will see that it changes the text to I love programming too. So someone could actually get creative with this simple program and add another button which takes the text back by simply copying and pasting the code. So you can get a bit creative and do that. But at least I'm sure the members at least know what we mean by inline JavaScript, that you can add JavaScript to HTML elements. And for example, here I'm just using a very short example of this, but just know that you can actually change the content of an entire web page, especially the text, to just using a single click of a button. Yes, by just using given these 2 lines of code. In case this was a very big paragraph, it would also actually change. It will actually change the entire text. Even if I had maybe replicated I love the ICT Club multiple times, it could actually change. In case I had a lot of text there, it would also change the text. You could also add a lot of text here as well to enable that to happen. So I hope at least for today, we've been able to see what we mean by inline JavaScript right here. We've also been able to cover the lists. But unfortunately, like I always tell you, some of these concepts take quite some time, and I really don't want to rush the members. I would be very glad if some of the members actually went away today with these 2 ideas, that they actually know how to add a list to their website, and additionally, they know how to use inline JavaScript. So for the next session, like I said, I always begin from wherever I stop, because I'm seeing we've run out of time. I want to accord the remaining 10 minutes or so to get some feedback from the members, as well as share, maybe answer some questions as well. And then we shall begin from there next time. Thank you for listening to me. So let me invite some members who want to ask something, maybe want to share with us what they are doing at school and so on. And then we can end the session with that. I really appreciate today's attendance. I can see most of our members have actually made it to the session today. They've been consistent, and they're taking the session seriously. The people from Arua SS, and I think St. Kaloli as well. They're always on. They always They always follow me as we are coding as well. And we really appreciate the administration as well as the patrons who have decided to guide the students through the session. So I don't know whether some members have something to say or they have a comment. Mr. Wamanga, is there something you want to add? Oh, sorry, I always have to unmute. I don't know, is there anyone who has raised their hand? Okay, Mr. Wamanga has raised, yes.
Okay, Emma, thank you so much for the presentation.
Yes.
And I also thank the members who have joined and have managed to participate in this. It always requires being practical at every time. And it is always good that when we attend, we go back and put into practice. I've come across a number of patrons and the students who are always in the background. They don't attend this because of maybe activities over the weekend, but they go through the videos and they appreciate what we're doing. So I think at the end of it, we shall also still add on maybe going into projects because I can see that as you move forward, things become more interesting and what code can do, because what we did with HTML, we were able to do a structure. And then when you moved to CSS, again, there was some great improvement. Then now that we have come to JavaScript, I think this is the most interesting in terms of the power you are giving us to be able to manage whatever we're able to produce. So I call upon the members to see that they take this seriously, go into projects, and we see what we shall come up with. Here, we're also working on a program to see how we shall go into competitions. And we hope to see really what students can do with what they have learned from this. I appreciate what you have done, Emma. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Wamanga. Thank you very much for keeping us updated and keeping the members updated as well. We really appreciate. So our members really, I always want to hear at least from one of the members or one of the patrons, because I really want to make sure that at least they were listening in and they were able to follow us through the project, through the coding, sorry. So maybe a member from Arua SS can say something. Can they hear us? Arua SS, I'll try to unmute here as a member from Arua SS. All right, Mr. Wamanga wants to say something.
Okay, yeah, thank you so much. You know, this unmuting becomes a challenge. Yeah, yes. But I'm just happy that I've just seen a school. I've just seen the King Solomon SS school in Kagadi, where I was like 2 weeks ago. They have joined. They have just joined. Yes. I think we have to continue guiding the new ones to keep following the video. Yeah, I'm excited about King Solomon. I saw a school under construction in Gagadi. They have very good internet. I think this can also be helpful. Yes, I've also seen St. Elizabeth. These are some of the schools really which are very, very organized and they are focused about this. I just want to mention this, St. Elizabeth and King Solomon. And also members, I think it's also good to join by naming the school. Yes. Yeah, that's how we continue also writing our reports.
Yeah, that's true.
Augustine, I think even that was Masindi SS. So it is good to add a school also. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Wamanga. So our people at St. Kaloli, I think, want to say something as well. Yes, you're unmuted, St. Kaloli. I can see your hand is up.
Mr. Emma.
Yes, sir.
With enough auspicious, we thank you for the work that you've done.
Yes.
We are following each session that you're teaching, because some of them we miss due to network, but we also find them on YouTube.
Yes.
And we do follow them. And I think for now we are not in a bad condition and we are enjoying.
Okay, right. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. We really appreciate the attendance, the consistency. Yes, some people attend, but when it comes to consistency, it becomes very hard. So when we see a school that is actually consistent, every week they're there, irrespective of the challenges, well, that says a lot. That says a lot. Especially the patron at St. Kalodi has been consistent. The members are always there, and really appreciate. And it's also good to always go to YouTube, and I'm glad that people are actually taking advantage of that platform. Yes, we understand you may not be able to attend every week, but you can always have that option of ensuring that you are always on the same page with us by visiting the YouTube and typing in ICT Club weekly sessions, and then you get a chance to see all our sessions from session 1. Yes, we are still going. This is session 7. Next week we shall have session 8. And for session 8, based on Mr. Chole's feedback, will be mostly question and answer. I'll probably use like 30 minutes just to explain some of the concepts that I've not been able to cover this weekend. But I think that session, mostly 1 hour and so, will be about question and answer, because I think that's very important. I just want you, the members, at least for those who have attended today, to come with all sorts of questions that you really want for me to supplement on, maybe to guide you on. Yes, I want to avail that platform that will allow you to get that information. Maybe you're stuck somewhere. So next week, I'll bring in some little JavaScript, but I'll end the session early to allow 1 hour of question and answer. So in case you're working on a Scratch project, you're working on something that you want other members to also learn, it will be a very good opportunity. I think it will be a very good opportunity for you to actually share with the members. And additionally, we are always, we're actually working with Mr. Wamanga to see that we introduce a program which will allow us to certify the members that actually put in the time. We really want to reward your efforts, at least with a small certificate, following the DIT program, that when you learn web design, for example, you should be able to get a small certificate at the end of the day. Yes, Mr. Nato, is there something you want to share with us? I'm going to unmute Mr. Nato in case you want to share something with us before we close. Yes, you're welcome, Mr.
Thank
Nato.
you very much.
Mm.
Yes, sir. Let me take this opportunity to thank you so much
Yes.
for these daily, weekly sessions that are helping us in coding. And as Mr. Wamanga has said, our coordinator, we thank him for organizing such programs so that he can help the ICT clubs also to come up to such skills.
Yes.
And also the Kawa group. So this time I thank you for this improvement of where we are going, like now JavaScript from all those structures of HTML and CSS. And now here we are commanding the computer what to do.
Yes.
Here we are going to become commanders of the of the sites. So it will be so great.
Yes.
So actually, thank you for your effort and time that you have been putting on.
Yes.
For continuing learning. Thank you very much. I think next time, I think since you have said you will organize the question and answer, I think we shall take our part in asking also and having also some few things also to answer. I think you can organize also for us questions, whether we can answer them or not. If where we fail, also it can help us to in guidance on knowing where we have reached. Either we have gone far or we are still lagging behind, then you find a way of helping us. So thank you very much.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Nato, for the feedback and for sharing that wonderful idea. So I think that would be a great idea, at least for me to assess where the members are. I can also come with a list of questions to make it some sort of discussion. I can see the members from St. Elizabeth are appreciating. Well, thank you. Yes, you're welcome. And we also appreciate you for attending. So as part of our question and answer, I'll also ask some questions amongst the members to see where have they reached? Do they remember some of our definitions, maybe from session 1, where we defined linkers and so on? So I'll come up with some few questions And then the ICT club members should be able to understand, to answer some of those questions. As you understand, even some of these questions actually come in the IT exams for our members who are doing ICT. You see that at some point, someone might ask you, what is the program, for example? And you should be able to explain that in an even more elaborate way, because I gave some elaborate definitions in our session 1, and I hope the members were able to grasp those. That at the end of the day, we are not just here even to program, we are also here for academic purposes. That when you understand now what is going on as we program these computers, you can even answer your questions better. Sometimes I might talk about something when I'm coding and it might come in your paper as well. Yes, so it works both ways. And I want you to take advantage of this, because as you see, our sessions are free of charge. We are always here on Saturday, though today we delayed a bit because of a network issue, but we were able to proceed from there. That's why I'm appreciating all the members who have been patient from the start. Mr. Nato as well, for always being able to share with us some feedback and also give us some really valuable advice. So members, in case we don't have any other question, please allow me to end the session, and please let us meet next week, where we shall be looking at how to make, today we looked at how to make paragraphs dynamic, that you can change the text on your web page with the click of a button. And next time I'll show you how we can actually also use the same event handling technique to change the images on a button, that when you click on a button on the web page, when you click on a button, your images can actually change in real time, that I can click on multiple buttons and my images can change. So I'll bring in that, and then we shall use the rest of the time for question and answer. So with that, thank you very much, and please have a very wonderful evening. Bye to everyone.